Hey everybody, it's Crypto-Anarchist here, and I'm bringing you guys another video on cryptocurrencies. Today's video we're going to be talking about Turing Completeness in Bitcoin Cash. And for anybody out there who's wondering why I'm doing so many videos on Bitcoin Cash right now, the whole reason for this is because Bitcoin Cash is the cryptocurrency I originally, bought into. When I first heard about Bitcoin, I was pretty young at the time. I was either in high school or just started college, something like that. But I was like 18 or something, and the price of Bitcoin was like 20 bucks. It wasn't that much. Not many people were really talking about it. Um, but there was something specific about it that I really thought was crazy. And there was something specific about like what you could do with a blockchain that I always thought was very interesting. And obviously, if you've been paying attention to what cryptocurrencies are doing today, a lot of them are moving away from what that original message is. And so Bitcoin Cash has kind of revived that original message. Now, I'm an entrepreneur, and when I first heard about blockchain technologies, I wanted to build things that would use the blockchain technologies in order to make them a reality. So today, we're going to be talking about Turing Completeness in Bitcoin Cash and how to use Bitcoin Cash to do smart contracts in ways that nobody else is doing. And the type of smart contracts we're actually going to be talking about, they're like the simplest type of smart contracts that there are. I've said this a lot of times before. I don't necessarily really like smart contracts, especially not in the way Ethereum does it. I don't know why you would build an entirely new like programming language and stuff on your blockchain when people use computers to connect to blockchains and they already have programming languages on their computers. But let's go ahead and talk about Turing Completeness and then talk about how you can use a blockchain in order to basically create businesses and use smart contracts in ways that are incredibly useful. And the other thing, one additional point to this that adding smart contracts and things like this to a blockchain does is a lot of people ask, what is it that backs up the value of a cryptocurrency? Well, it's the blockchain itself, but specifically the more functions you give your blockchain, the more that you allow it to do, the more that it's used for. Obviously, then it has more of a base value, so that if it ever starts failing as a currency, the price won't drop completely to zero. But anyways, talking about this Turing Completeness, a lot of people really don't understand what Turing Completeness is or is not. Put simply, all you have to do to be Turing Complete is you have to be able to write zeros and ones. Technically speaking, all computer code comes down to is just being zeros and ones. So if you can write zeros and ones, you can basically do everything a Turing machine can do. Now, obviously, Bitcoin Cash, as a digital currency where you can send different amounts of that currency, you can obviously send zeros or ones almost as as messages if they were just different types of amounts of the currency you wanted to send. But so obviously there's ways to make it Turing complete. We're not saying it's necessarily the most exquisite way to be Turing complete, but it is Turing complete. The way that you make Bitcoin Cash really exquisitely Turing complete, though, is instead of actually trying to make your programs run off of Bitcoin Cash itself, you run them off the computers that connect to Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin Cash you basically use it as like an on-off switch where you have some sort of program that runs on a computer, but it either will run a program or not, depending upon the information in the blockchain. So the blockchain just basically tells a program on a computer, like, do I go now or not? Yes or no, yes or no. That's all that you ask. So it's really that simple. All Bitcoin Cash has to do is it's just got to connect to Turing machines, which is basically, your computer, your cell phone, anything that you use any sort of applications on basically is a Turing machine. And so long as Bitcoin Cash can send commands or can send information to those machines, as long as you can run an SPV wallet on those machines, then you can have Bitcoin Cash basically run programs on your smartphone or on your computer. You can have that done in real time. And so this is a little esoteric in argument. It's really simple in practice, though. So specifically, though, we're going to be talking about giving digital assets for wallets that track ownership of things in those wallets. So nChain's actually got a patent out for this. I don't know the specifics of what they patented, but I want to like show you guys that this is actually coming out. Like people like Enchain and Craig Wright and company, you know, they are actually releasing this stuff. So this isn't just some sort of theoretical thing. The only reason I'm, you know, sort of talking about it theoretically is because I don't know the specifics of how Enchain allows you to do this. Okay, this is something that Enchain actually got patented. It's their first patent. And if you actually go back and watch my videos from a long time ago, I've probably got a couple pretty bad videos on topics like this from a very long time ago, talking about how you can add certain things like titles of ownership of digital assets onto the blockchain. And remember, you can only do this if the blocks are big. So another reason why I like Bitcoin Cash is because like all the things I want to do entrepreneurially with blockchains, I need big blocks. I like big blocks, and I cannot lie. But yeah, so anyways, this the digital ownership thing, all you're basically doing is you're going to put basically some sort of transaction on the blockchain, and maybe you'll make some sort of colored coins with it or something, or it doesn't even matter. It could just be like you put a super small amount of Bitcoin Cash in a transaction on a blockchain, and then you just say that Bitcoin Cash represents the ownership of this file. Or even for like for whether or not you have access to a certain file, because for Enchain's license, or for Enchain's for their patent, they talk about getting license to different digital things. So like let's say you have when you go, like when you sign on to YouTube, there's only certain YouTube videos you can watch. Some you have to pay for, some you don't. So there would be like different wallets that YouTube would have set up, and it would be like if a user has paid into this wallet, then they are able to watch these videos, and you can just do everything real simply. So then all YouTube has to do, all their servers have to do to check whether or not somebody has access to their videos, instead of having an internal data storage directory, they do it all over the blockchain. Okay, and so let's talk about this specifically for a product that I'm trying to create. This is one of many, just so you guys know. This is also not a finished product, and once I show you guys it, but this is something I haven't looked at in, like, I don't know, it's been like a year. Like obviously I looked at it right before I made this video, but there's a couple of mistakes in this, and that's why I wanted to show you guys this. So this is something I had been working on. I've shown it in a couple of videos before, but it's just a card game for this like sci-fi fantasy story I'm writing. I'm writing a sci-fi fantasy story, and then I've got other different card games and board games and things thought out like that you could sell with it. But anyways, this is supposed to be the basics of what's going to be like one of the characters for one of the board games, and the characters, it's called a Selene Royal. The Selene, that's like their race or their species or whatever. But anyways, if you look at all of this, one thing that I would need from a blockchain, like if I want to create this and turn this into a board game, the problem that I have is that I can't, like, I can create the idea, but I'm not an artist. I don't know how to do I don't know what you call it, like digital. I can't alter digital photos, things like that. I'm not a digital artist. That's probably not the right word for it. But anyways, I can't do any of that. A lot of this just needs to be edited. The writing does. We'll see this later on. But what I would need for all this, like there's supposed to be an information card that has a picture of that Selene Royal up on the top, as well as that description on it. Then it's got all of her attributes, which is, how does she draw, how many attack phases does she have, what's her range, how does she move, what's her health, all that stuff. All that would be on just one information page. And then if you go down, there's attack cards. So those attack cards, they're not supposed to be anything necessarily fancy, just attack cards that have some sort of cool picture on it, then have the attack and the defense values. And so if I wanted to get this made, the reason that a blockchain is super useful for having or for getting this created is the problem that I have right now is because I do not have the funds to actually pay someone to do this. If I'm going, like, there's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of artists out there who would be willing to do this work, but since I don't have money, obviously they're not going to work for free. But since I don't have money, I also don't have the ability to pay a bunch of lawyers and be like, hey, even though I can't pay you, what if I just gave you a percentage ownership of like what I'm creating here, right? Because I could do that and we could just say, hey, even though I can't pay you, I'm just going to give you a percentage ownership. But how many artists are actually going to believe that I'm going to be able to do that accurately? You know, how many believe that I'm not going to screw them over if we have some sort of arrangement like that? Well, what if you set this up on a blockchain? So if we look at this first picture, or you know, we go from that picture here and we start thinking about it logically, all you have to do is assign these digital assets to wallets to track ownership. And I'm going to go back and forth from that first page that we showed here. So imagine that I have one wallet assigned to this Celine Royal here, okay? So there's one wallet, and there's going to be a different wallet basically for every attribute of this Celine Royal, or every product that I want done with this Celine Royal, okay? And so so there's one wallet then for that first information card, and I just say, and you'll create a wallet, and maybe somehow you create some sort of message that goes with that wallet, and that just is a description of the work you want done for this product in order for, you know, whoever does that work to gain ownership or partial ownership of that product. So the description I would give for this Celine Royal is, I would say, hey, I need an information card that just has that picture there, as well as the description of the Celine Royal on it, and then maybe on the back side it's got you know, it gives all of her statistics, like her draw phase, her attack phases, her range, width, movement per phase, jump, her health, and then as well as a basic description of her equipment and stuff, her weapon, her armor. But you could do something like that, and then I could say, hey, well, like I put in originally, let's say 100 cash. That's what I am referring to, where I have that B. It looks basically the way I would actually say that is B cash. I know people hate the name B cash here for it, but if you're going to use like cash, and by cash I mean 100 satoshis, that's what a lot of people have been calling cash. Or like as a denomination for Bitcoin Cash is 100 satoshis. I like that symbol, I guess, B $H to represent cash. I think it looks cool. But anyways, say I put 100 cash into a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and each one of those cash represents 1%. So the whole 100 cash represents 100% ownership of this Celine Royal information card, right? And so let's say, you know, the writing on it, obviously there's not really anything wrong with the writing. I might want someone to maybe change the description of the Celine Royal a little bit, maybe make it a little better, but obviously for a description, it's not like terribly bad. So I'll say, hey, if you want to edit my writing, I'll give you 3% to maybe, you know, if you change the description. I think, you know, maybe there's something down there that needed capitalized that I didn't capitalize. But anyways, I wouldn't give much to whoever edits my writing, but then I would assign 35% to an artist. I have right here, it says creates cards and maps, but just for this specific Celine Royal, you know, I would say I'll give you 35% to create that information card, you know, and design it and everything for it. And then the other thing that's really cool about this too is that not only like can you assign ownership to the creator. So like let's say, you know, let's say I'm creating this, and this is going to take me years to do, because this is just one character here. And if we actually go through, I have 3 pages per character. They have 3 different types of cards. They have their attack cards, action cards, and their special cards. And there's a lot of different things to them. And then there's 3 types of characters there's 3 sub characters per main character that you can choose. And I'm trying to get like 36 main characters, which would mean like 108 sub characters. There's a lot of work to do for this. But anyways, if there was an artist who were to basically create a template for some sort of information thing for the Celine Royal, and maybe I can use that template for all my other characters, they get a partial ownership of this thing that I'm creating. If I ever take it to market, even if it's like 5 years after this artist worked for me and they completely forgot about it, because they did everything on a blockchain, and because we tracked the change in ownership, like when they did the work for me, because it was tracked on the blockchain and it was all done on the blockchain, that's an immutable record proving that they are the partial owner of this product, so they will get paid. Okay, they will get paid for this product. So it doesn't matter if they forget about it. It doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter about anything. It doesn't matter if I forget about the project for like 20 years and then eventually finally finish it in 20 years. the person who helped me out will get paid, and that's something that you can't do without a blockchain, okay? You absolutely cannot do it without a blockchain. And you can, there's a lot of different things that you can, give partial ownership for. Like you could have, like in the early stages when you're creating a product, you could sell your product for really cheap, to a bunch of people, and then you could give part ownership to beta testers. If like, let's say I'm creating a card game and there's some like maybe it's not that well balanced. There's some characters who are overpowered. If there's some testers who can show me like, oh, hey, you didn't really think this character's, his cards through because he's actually way overpowered if you do this, this, or this, whatever, you can give part ownership to the people who help you out, and that's something that's really crazy. And you can give part ownership to them way before your company or your product has any value. So, and they can still know that if your company does get value or it does greatly rise in price, that they will be compensated. So it's absolutely crazy what you can do with blockchains in terms of creating digital assets and having entrepreneurs cooperate around the world without having to have any relationship with each other. It's really crazy. And this goes back to another familiar theme for anyone who's been watching this channel for a long time, but the real cool thing about blockchains and smart contracts, it's not ICOs. ICOs suck. Like everything that's been released in cryptocurrency so far, it's pissed me off so much because it's not what was originally promised. That's why I really like Bitcoin Cash. Again, going back to like at the beginning of this when I was saying why I've been talking about Bitcoin Cash so much, it's all because it's what was originally promised. And what was originally promised was not some sort of scammy bullshit, business venture called an ICO where you give them the money first and then they tell you, oh yeah, we'll build something real good for you later on. No, you build something first and then you ask for the money later. You don't want ICOs, you want reverse ICOs, and that's what Bitcoin Cash is helping to redevelop within the cryptocurrency community. That's the way businesses work. Businesses usually they build first, they get the money later, and through Bitcoin Cash you coordinate distributed businesses, okay? So they're businesses where you don't even necessarily have to, like, you don't even have to speak the same language as somebody, you could work with somebody across the world. You probably have to speak the same language as them to work with them, actually, or at least they have to speak the same language as you. They might know more languages than you, whatever, it doesn't matter. But as long as you can connect through a blockchain, and through the internet, then you can work on something somebody else is working on as well, and you can get part ownership for it, and you can get paid for it. And that's crazy. And anyone, anywhere, anytime can help finish the work. Like if we're talking about this board game I'm created, like I said, or that I'm creating, like I said, that is one sub character of a main character from which I want to have, like I want to have 36 main characters, and there's 3 sub characters per main character. Okay, think about how much work that is, and that's just one board game for a sci-fi fantasy story that I'm writing. Okay, it's a big project. Okay, it's a huge, huge, huge project, and think about the difference, because like if I was trying to do that on my own, I would have to pay somebody a huge amount of money. What if they create something that I don't like as the creator of this project, and I still paid them the money, so I'm just gonna have to use it. But if you use some sort of blockchain thing, and I'm just like, look, whoever can create the best thing, I'll give you partial ownership of this, then I as the creator get to choose from the work of different people. The creator, or the people who create the work for me, they get partial ownership of the project. They know for a fact that if I ever take the product to market, there's an immutable record of their work being done on this project on a blockchain. So they definitely will get paid. It's really cool what you can do with a blockchain, and I really like that Bitcoin Cash is bringing that back. And again, the whole thing is these immutable changes that will be put on the blockchain, or the changes in ownership of your project or whatever in some sort of scenario like this, they're immutable, and it only costs you a few pennies to do. Like if you think about that, like right now people pay lawyers thousands of dollars for just determining a couple different aspects of things like this. If I were to actually create some sort of board game and I were working with big time artists or things like that, you would be paying lawyers thousands of dollars, and you can do this all on a blockchain for a couple of cents. Okay, so it's not just one order of magnitude, it's like 4 or 5 orders of magnitudes more efficient. I think it's way more efficient. It's incredible. But yeah, the cost of a legal team for big businesses, it's well over six figures, and you can do this for pennies. You can do years worth of this for, a couple dollars. It's crazy. But anyways, this is what is really getting me excited about Bitcoin Cash. I'm really pumped about a lot of the things that are happening for Bitcoin Cash. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin Cash's Lightning system. It's called Bitcoin. I call it Bitcoin Thunder. It's actually called like T-Chain or T-Chan. Emin Sorare released it. It's really interesting. I'll have a video coming out on that soon. There'll be a lot more videos coming out. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, more will be coming out. So just stay seated and wait for them.